At 19, Ethan thought life would eventually make sense. Not because he had a plan. Not because he was special. But because when you're young, you quietly assume things will work out somehow. Nobody tells you how fast years disappear. Nobody tells you adulthood is mostly repetition. Wake up. Work. Pay bills. Sleep tired. Repeat. School taught him how to memorize answers. But nobody taught him how easily people lose themselves. Nobody taught him that effort alone means nothing if you're replaceable. Nobody taught him that most people slowly abandon their dreams without ever admitting it. At 19, Ethan still laughed without thinking. Still believed friendships lasted forever. Still believed successful people were just luckier. He had no idea that life could slowly drain a person without them even noticing. At first, everything felt normal. That's the dangerous part. Real destruction rarely feels dramatic. It feels comfortable, predictable, safe. Every morning, Ethan woke up to the same alarm, the same ceiling, the same exhaustion. And like millions of people, he kept going anyway. Because society doesn't teach people to live. It teaches people to tolerate. He got a regular job. Regular paycheck. Regular stress. Regular fake smiles hiding real exhaustion. At first, he convinced himself this was adulthood. Work hard. Wait for weekends. Survive Monday again. Everyone around him lived the same way. So the emptiness felt normal. That's how traps work. When everybody's trapped together, nobody notices the cage. Years passed quietly. Ethan started spending money to feel alive. New phone. Better clothes. Random online shopping. Expensive dinners he couldn't really afford. Temporary excitement. Temporary escape. Because distractions are easier than honesty. One night, after paying bills, he opened his bank account. Almost nothing left. Again. And suddenly something inside him cracked. Not because he was broke, but because he realized he was exhausted. And still going nowhere. That was the night he understood something brutal. The world doesn't reward people for working hard. It rewards people for becoming valuable. And Ethan knew the truth. If he disappeared tomorrow, someone else would replace him next week. That realization terrified him. The next morning, he looked around the office differently. People forcing conversations. Laughing without energy. Watching the clock every 10 minutes. Waiting for lunch break like prisoners waiting for sunlight. And for the first time in years, Ethan became scared of living an ordinary life forever. That fear changed him. Because eventually, every person chooses between two pains. The pain of discipline. Or the pain of regret. One hurts now. The other follows you forever. That night, Ethan deleted every distraction from his phone. No endless scrolling. No pointless videos. No fake motivation clips. Just silence. And silence is uncomfortable. Because silence forces people to meet themselves honestly. At first, his mind hated it. His brain begged for noise again. But slowly, something changed. His thoughts became clearer. And once somebody sees reality clearly, it becomes impossible to go back asleep. He realized most people spend their entire lives escaping discomfort. Avoiding difficult conversations. Avoiding difficult growth. Avoiding responsibility. Because comfort feels harmless. But comfort quietly destroys potential. Dreams don't usually die from failure. They die from convenience. Ethan started studying people who built real freedom. Not internet influencers pretending to be rich. Real builders. People who owned businesses. People who controlled their time. People who escaped survival mode. And he noticed something strange. They all thought differently. While most people chased appearance, they chased ownership. While most people bought things to impress strangers, they bought things that created freedom. While most people traded time for money, they protected time like it was life itself. Because it is. That realization hit Ethan hard. Money matters. But time matters more. And most people sell their lives far too cheaply. One winter evening, he visited the neighborhood where he grew up. Everything looked smaller. The roads. The houses. Even the dreams. He saw old classmates standing outside a store. Same mindset. Same excuses. Same conversations. Years had passed. But nothing about them changed. That scared Ethan more than failure ever could. Because failure can teach people. But staying the same for decades, that destroys people slowly. That night, he wrote one sentence on his wall. If nothing changes, nothing changes. Simple. But impossible to ignore. From that point forward, his life became discipline. Wake up early. Study skills. Read daily. Work after work. Sleep tired. Repeat. No motivation. No audience. No shortcuts. Just consistency. And consistency is lonely. People mocked him. Called him obsessed. Said he was doing too much. But people always laugh before results appear. Months later, something happened. Ethan made money without clocking into work. It wasn't much. But to him, it felt like breathing fresh air after years underwater. Because for the first time, he realized freedom might actually be possible. Not easy, but possible. And once someone experiences even a small taste of freedom, they can never fully accept being controlled again. Years passed. But Ethan changed completely. He became calmer. Sharper. Harder to distract. He stopped needing approval. Stopped explaining himself. Stopped trying to impress people who secretly hated ambition. Because ambitious people make comfortable people uncomfortable. They remind others of what they abandoned. One evening, his mother quietly asked him, "Why do you push yourself this hard now?" Ethan stayed silent for a moment. Then answered honestly, "Because I finally saw what happens to people who don't." The room became quiet. Heavy quiet. Because deep down, almost everyone understands when they're wasting their life. They just distract themselves enough to avoid thinking about it. At 32, Ethan met an old school friend for dinner. The friend looked drained. Tired eyes. Low energy. Like life had slowly worn him down. Halfway through the conversation, his friend admitted something painful. "I did everything people told me to do. And I still feel stuck." Ethan understood immediately. Because society's version of success is broken for many people. People are told, study hard. Get a stable job. Work for decades. Retire when your body is tired. But almost nobody asks the real question. What kind of life are you building? One that feels alive? Or one that simply looks acceptable from the outside? That night, Ethan walked home through empty streets. Cold air. Silent buildings. And suddenly he realized how temporary everything is. The opinions. The status. The endless competition. None of it survives time. One day, everybody disappears. Which means most fears are meaningless. That realization changed him again. Not physically. Mentally. Because once someone truly understands how short life is, they stop wasting it trying to please everyone. At 35, Ethan had more money than he ever imagined growing up. But strangely, money no longer impressed him. Freedom did. Peace did. Health did. Being able to wake up slowly without panic did. Being able to spend time with family did. That became success. Not luxury. Not attention. Not fake internet lifestyles. Real success is having control over your own life. And most people never experience that feeling. One evening, Ethan sat beside an old man in a quiet park. The man looked peaceful. Not rich looking. Not powerful looking.